When I first joined speech and debate, I was expecting the speaking to be scary, not the aggressive, pubescent debate kids. I remember competing in my very first round of policy debate, chest tightening, ears ringing, pulse racing, feeling milliseconds away from cardiac arrest. In those milliseconds, that's when my opponent delivered his killing blow. He got up, turned to face our judge, and compared my argument to Swiss cheese because apparently it's full of holes. Yeah, my debate career started and ended that day. But debate kids still terrify me. And maybe it's because they have the courage to do what I never could have done as a freshman. To engage in intellectual, if civil discourse about the issues surrounding our nation. To clarify, it wasn't that I didn't know about these issues or that I didn't care. I was scared to speak up. And my silence is shared. In 2020, UNSET's analysis found that 37% of youth aged 11 to 22 don't feel qualified to voice their political opinions, even though half say they're as well informed as most people. Across party lines, only an average 22% said they publicly engaged in activism in 2018, let alone a round of policy debate. But when the issues grow beyond the scope of a debate tournament, what's stopping more youth from speaking up? Because what truly terrifies me is the thought of a world that suffocates under the weight of unspoken issues because it grows up silent. As for those who are already fighting for change, they need to know their voices will not be smothered. Youth activism shouldn't read as a story of failed action when it's a story of hope. But what makes youth activism so difficult to begin with? Well, there are two parts to this problem, and both have to do with the fact that it's hard to start and to persevere. Both also have to do with how power is systematically structured in our society. And spoiler alert, it doesn't exactly favor our youth. Our pathways to power are typically long and arduous, perhaps unsurprising in a government where the average age is, well, let's just say it's older than that of your average voting eligible American and retiree. In fact, in 2016, the Library of Congress found that the average age of a senator was 76, as compared to the average voting eligible age of 38. And such is the phenomenon of an aging government, or a gerontocracy, because our government is so old, we actually have a name for it. Unfortunately, gerontocracies relinquish issues of profound importance to our nation's youth and future into the hands of those whose primes, as Business Insider puts it in their special feature, Red, White, and Gray, have already passed. Even when youth do manage to grasp power, there is often a price tag to their success. Maxwell Frost, the first Gen Z Congress member, divulged in a 2022 NPR interview that, as a young middle-class campaigner, he could hardly pay for bills and rent. Entryways to power have historically filtered out to the poor and working class, but here is yet another cause for youth activists to be consistently underestimated and routinely disparaged. This isn't just about Greta Thunberg being publicly harassed by Andrew Tate on social media. This is about the tragedies that have shaped our nation. Delaney Todd, co-founder of the March for Our Lives movement, reflects on her spotlight in a special 2022 edition of the Teen Vogue, stating, "As our public presence grew, so did the target on our backs. Some on the political right accused us of being crisis actors, just because we asked for some changes to gun legislation. As teenagers, we were torn to shreds by some, while glorified as heroes by others." For many youth activists like Delaney, there exists a delicate balance between publicity, the hostility between being an icon and being a human. The pedestal these activists are placed on often strips them of their humanity and their sanity, because pressure to save the world can be emotionally exhausting. Youth activists on all ends of the media coverage spectrum face what psychologist Paul Gorski calls activism burnout. No surprise when they must continually counter doubt from adults who question their motives or efficacy at influencing change. And this is especially apparent when that change falls outside traditional norms. Take, for instance, Leah, a student who worked tirelessly to form a gay-straight alliance for her private high school, only to have the GSA rebranded by administrators to make it more acceptable. Having to fight pushback from within her own school made Leah feel frustrated, betrayed, and drained. The very epitome of activism burnout. And the issues of activism persist on two sides of the same coin. Often this soul-crushing, anxiety-inducing, all or nothing depiction of effective activism is the first thing youth are introduced to, scaring them away altogether. Other times, we neglect to consider that activism anxiety, as coined by the Activist Handbook, can stem from a lack of resources, mentorship, or opportunities for engagement. And additionally, youth from marginalized communities are hit particularly hard when they face additional barriers like time constraints, work, or simply not knowing where to begin, leaving them to shy away when it comes to the most pressing issues of our generation. Just consider climate change. Within the United States, over 60% of young adults grapple with anxiety stemming from climate-related issues, yet only 33% express confidence in their ability to contribute effectively towards environmental protection. That means for every future Greta Thunberg you can think of, there are at least two more who are collapsing under the weighty expectations of deciding action. And this doesn't even account for the youth who never get the chance to try. As a teenager myself, the sheer scope of the attractive and daunting issues presented by climate change can be daunting enough. When coastal villages flood, wildfires raze towns, and deforestation takes livelihoods away, where can I even start to address these inequalities for our most vulnerable communities? But when we've already inherited a world where wildfires raze towns, coastal villages flood, and deforestation takes livelihoods away, our indecision makes us lifetimes too late. Activism anxiety is evidently a significant issue, but the solution isn't just to turn every young person into the next Greta Thunberg. As firm of a believer as I am in the inherent power of youth voices, young people shouldn't feel compelled to save the environment in order to feel as if they are making a difference. Because truth hurts. Not all of us can become Greta Thunberg, but activism is nonetheless a powerful form of civic engagement, a societal equalizer. Tufts University confirms that activism empowers all who so partake, but especially youth historically marginalized, who in turn empower others. But this is hardly a groundbreaking fact. Young people have long been torchbearers of hope. Consider the Greensboro Four, a group of 4 black students during the Jim Crow era who staged sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. 4 students became 24 students, and then hundreds and thousands, and soon stores across the South were being integrated, even before the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. And though the issues on the counter, no pun intended, have changed, our passion has not. Youth are still speaking up, whether it's the climate movement or gun legislation reform. But why are we made to feel like children for crying out? From the boy who cried wolf, to Greta Thunberg, to Delaney Tarr, to you, to me, our planet is currently home to the largest generation of young people in history. So it was about time that our voices were properly acknowledged, their power to dispel the darkness, not just fear it. Because even when the world seems endlessly bleak, Young people are always, and our torches continue to shine. Perhaps Serbian activist Olga Devic puts it best. Young people are the most valuable resource that exists in this highly volatile and changing world. So decision makers should not waste it. All youth, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what skills they supposedly lack, deserve the opportunity to partake meaningfully in activism. And as Professor Carolyn notes, establishing well-structured, hands-on advocacy roles allows educators and mentors to help young activists thrive. Participation pathways can be tailored to youth where they are, whether it's joining with community groups or simply listening to podcasts. Let's show our generation that actions need to be bombastic or life-changing in order to truly make a difference. Put simply, we can make it easier for youth activists, while also making it easier for youth to become activists. And it starts with simply listening to our youth. Whether they've been speaking at you for 10 minutes straight or not, activist or not, youth need to know their voices matter. At the end of the day, this isn't just about me, or this event, or speech and debate. All of our youth have something important to say, no matter how they choose to say it. So I ask that you truly listen to every word we have to say. And while I can't guarantee that 1 minute speech from a teenager will magically solve climate change or end gun violence, I can guarantee that we will continue speaking or debating on these issues.